Hello, hello, hello. It's Shirley Ross, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'm going to share in my Coffee and Cards a real quick, easy card that showcases both sides of a pattern paper. So that I did just kind of as my sample. So let me share some of the things we're going to use. You'll need your trimmer. You'll need some cardstock for your card bases. I'm using Mossy Meadow, and I'm using 8.5 by 11. I have some scrap cuts that I have laying around for the sentiment, and I have some scrap basic white for the inside, and I am using, I believe this is the Thoughtful Journey 6x6 paper collection, and I chose a couple of them, these two. They go really well with the Mossy Meadow. I have some embellishments I just took out of my stash. I have some twine and I have some sequins. I'll put those to the side that we can use to embellish the card if you so desire. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut the cardstock. And since this is 8.5 by 11, I just have to cut it in half. I'm going to raise it up a little bit to make sure you can see. And you just pretty much have to cut it in half at 5.5 on the 11 side. And then you have two card bases. Now we're going to take one and score it at 4.25. That is the 4.25 by 5.5 is the A2 card. And then we're going to take it and I'm going to cut off 3.5 inches, so it just leaves a little 1-inch piece here. And this we're going to save because it can be used for mats or something else. And then we're going to fold this over. Let me put the trimmer over to the side a moment, and then you can use your bone folder to get a nice crease. All right, so then we're going to move on to the pattern paper. I'm going to start with this pattern, and we just need to cut a 4.25. We want it to be 5.5, and this is 6, so you can kind of get a feel for, you can do 1/4 off of each end, which is what I'm going to do, so I can kind of keep that pattern in the center. So we're going to put that at 5.5. So I put it at 1/4, and then I put it at 5.5. So this is 4.25 by 5.5. And then we are going to take the piece that's left over because we're going to use the back side of it, and I want to cut a 1-inch piece. And make it 5.5. So 1 by 5.5. And then just save the other pieces for scraps. This is going to go over, oh, that is not quite an inch. It is 3/4 of an inch, which I think may be what I have. Perfect. So if you cut it at 1 inch, this little piece will work. That goes to show you that you don't always have to be perfect. We all make mistakes, but you can work with it. All right, so the cuts are done for the first card. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece, and up front say you're going to need adhesive. You can use liquid adhesive, dry adhesive, whatever you wish. And I'm going to place this a little bit just right next to the score line and center it. You want it to cover the whole piece there. There we are. And if you have a little bit hanging over the edge, then you can trim it up. And then flip this side over, and you can put it like this, or you can leave it like that. I think I kind of like it like that, so I think I'll hang on to those other pieces. You can actually use this for the inside if you want to put it. I think I like that idea with that piece. And that piece, can't pick it up. You could even do it with that. But I think I kind of like that side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Just so you have some pretty on the inside. All right, and I might have gotten it a little high, but it's all right. That's good for the start. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we want to put a sentiment on this. So I'm going to use Mossy Meadow ink, and I'm using the stamp set Layers of Beauty. This is going to be used in my Coffee and Cards class. And then let's get a piece of, I think I'm going to use one of these little small squares. And from the scrap piece that I cut here, I think I'm going to mat it. So the size of this piece is, it's 2 by 2, so we'll make this 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. So I'm going to grab out my trimmer. And there we go. All right, and I always like to stamp before I mat, just in case I have to use the other side. So I'm going to grab a block, and I'm going to use the Grateful for You. As you can see, it's kind of my go-to stamp at the moment. You know, you have that one stamp that's really the one you really like. So I'm going to open it like a compact, and then I'm going to slide it. I'm going to keep it open because I might want to do something with the inside. So I'm going to ink it up. It looks good. I'm going to put it, I think I'm going to put it down just a little bit so I can put some fiber on there. All right. First time, and I think I'm going to pop it up, but I want to put, I think I'm going to use this color. I'm going to move the ink over out of the way, because if you're like me, I tend to put my fingers in. I'm going to go around 2 times, pull off a little, grab my fiber or fabric scissors. I put a little ribbon on them so I know not to cut paper with them. All right. And then I am going to, I think I'm just going to do a knot. I'm going to flip, make sure when I tie the, first one, then I'm going to make sure I grab both fibers with the next one. So I want to make sure it holds both of them. So I'm just going to come up under the fibers, and then I'll tie the next knot, the next part of the knot. Sometimes I get it a little loose when I'm on the camera. There we go. And then that kind of holds the 2 pieces together. Then I like to separate them. Let's see if I can get them straight there. It's a little better. There we go. I want to just kind of make sure you can see that there's 2 going across. There we go. Then I'm going to trim off. Save those because I can use them. And then I may make it a little bit shorter, but I like to use the scissors, or you can use your pokey tool, as I call it, which I think I'm going to do because my scissors keep catching that. There we go. That one is there. I kind of like them to splay out, so that's why I separate the fibers after I tie it. I just think that gives it a fuller look. There we go. All right. And then if you want to do a glue dot, you can, to keep them in place. That's up to you. I am going to, I love my tool there. It is nice. I'm going to do some raising up. I'm going to get the bigger dimensionals. I'm going to put one right in the center so the ribbon fiber doesn't move. I'm going to pop this up and then put the sentiment directly on the card. All right. And you can use the pokey tool. I like calling it a pokey tool. I'm sure there's a better name for it, but let me put one on each side too. Just, I don't want it to flatten, you know, when you send it in the mail, it gets squished by all those machines it's going to go through. This tends to help if you put enough. I want to make sure it hits the paper. All right, then I'm going to carefully center it. All right, and let's get rid of all these little pieces. I love my new glass mat. Nothing sticks to it. That makes it nice. All right, let me slide this back out of the way. Put my dimensionals away. I'm not going to need them again. I keep them in extra folders, and then they just sit in a little drawer under my chair, under my table. Put my scissors away. I've been trying to be really good about putting things away as I finish with them. All right, let's bring the card back in. Then we can decide if we want it like in the bottom corner, which is where I have done it in the past. You could put it in the center, however you want to do it. Now, since I put the tape on already, I want to be careful. I like the bottom corner. That's just me. And then I'm going to bring in my sequins, and I think to offset the balance, I think I'm going to put these up here. I'm going to grab one and not pop it all the way across the room, which I did, and stuck it on the back of my, there we go. I think if I put them right on the edge, I'll be try to be much more careful. There we go. I probably could do it better with the little spatula. I'm just learning how to use all these nifty tools. To move it straighter. There we go. And one more. Yeah, that worked much better. These are new tools for me, and I'm having fun playing with them. That one's a little... There we go. All right, so then that kind of evens it out. Now for the inside, let us close that up and grab a scrap. I have this little scrap. So we want to, this piece that's left is 3.5 by 5.5. So let's do 3 1/4 by 5 1/4 to see what that looks like. Sorry if I'm too far down. All right. Let's see if you like, excuse me, how that looks. That's nice. Excuse me. So I thought, put this over there. What I thought I might do is grab one of my blending brushes and the ink. Now I learned this little trick from another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I can't remember her name, but she inked it up. She inked up a block to pick up the ink with. Now we're going to start off and then come on. I just want to kind of make a little mist around the card. If you come from off of the paper onto the paper, you're less likely to get those like brush strokes that you can sometimes get with a dauber or a blending brush. And if this is too much green, I have a friend who is not into green, so this would not be the color she would use, but you could use one of the other colors in the paper collection. I'm just going to keep going on until I get it, the darkness or the depth that I want. And this is just to add a little more to the card. And see, there I did it. I didn't go on. I went on before I went off the page, so just have to remember to start off. And yes, you might get some on the back if you're turning it like I'm doing, but that's okay. Didn't get much. And then I have my handy dandy wipes over here. So I'm just going to wipe it off. Wipes off very nicely. My wipes have dried out. There we go. All right. I need some new ones. All right, and then I'm done with that. Let me wipe that off. And clean it up nice. All right. So the next thing I want to do is stamp the sentiment. The sentiment that I like is, "You make my heart smile." I'm going to put it right in the center. You can do a smaller sentiment if you want. This one just, when I send these cards out, and I love sending cards, so I like to use this sentiment for that because my crafty friends do make my heart smile. Then we are going to flip it over, put some adhesive on it, and there you are. And while it's in the same color, you can still see, because the depth of color is different than the cardstock. I like that. And you have a card. It's quick, it's easy, doesn't take a lot of paper, and if you like the 6x6 paper pads, this is a good way to use those in making cards. So enjoy, and I will see you again soon. Shirley Ross, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator.